a better feel, like thought process ahead of time, planning that out a little bit. But you can't plan everything, so figuring out how to make adjustments on the fly when the time was called for it. Just those reps, I feel like, even going into preseason this year, I felt like I was in a better starting point.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, thanks, Doug, and thanks, Eric. Eric, we're going to turn to Jackie. Jackie, you're going to be followed by James. A reminder, folks, use the raised hand function. We'll continue. Jackie, go ahead.
Hey, Eric, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. So there have been a lot of roster cuts today, and that will only continue through the next couple of days. And so I'm just wondering, over the years, you've been in this league coaching. I'm curious how it has gotten harder to do this over time, and maybe how the talent pool has changed to make it harder over time.
There's a lot wrapped up in that question. I would say one part that's been harder is maybe not even for the teams themselves, but for the general fan base and media, who are more aware of a lot of players now. I think the coverage of the women's game and the WNBA has gotten better. And so these people that are now getting cut, people that have followed their careers to a greater extent than maybe they were 10 or 15 years ago. I say, as far as the cuts themselves, some years are more difficult than others. And I don't know that that's been a straightforward progression. I think we had a couple years, maybe those first couple years of COVID, where it was actually, the end of the bench talent was, you were trying to really find players. And now I think we've had a couple better drafts in a row, and the cuts are getting harder again. And so I think that will swing. I think everybody feels like we could use more teams, which would create more jobs. I don't think Kathy or anybody else has said differently. And so I think that would, help alleviate that. But I just think now I think fans in a great way have gotten attached to some of these players. The same thing happens in the NBA, but I don't know that there's the same attachment to players' college careers anymore on the men's side as there are in women's basketball.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Jackie. We're going to turn to James. James, you're going to be followed by Aaron. James.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for your time. I know that Elizabeth Williams was only with the Mystics for a year last year, but I'm just curious, what stood out to you, just from her perspective, just as a defensive playmaker and someone, even as a person off the floor?
She's just so solid. Elizabeth's so solid in every way as a person and a player. She had a great work ethic, first and foremost, even postseason, as she was getting ready to go overseas. I actually got more time with her then, probably in some ways, than I did during the season. But just somebody who's always knows your schemes, knows what her responsibilities are, can help her teammates through it. Not the loudest person, but has a good voice when she wants to use it that people respect. I don't know. The defense speaks for itself. The accolades speak for themselves, and what she brings, it's all real. There's no, fake stats or fake numbers with her. But just a really solid person. And we knew there was a chance we might only get her for a year because, she took a little bit, maybe less to play here a year ago to have a good experience. And, we're happy for her that, she got a good contract and a good opportunity.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, James. Thanks, Eric. We're going to turn to Aaron. Aaron Carter, you're up, and I'm looking for more hands raised. Go ahead.
All right. Eric, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm curious about Natasha Cloud. She's been with you guys for a few years now. I'm curious what you've seen in terms of her evolution as a player, as a person, and then I'm also curious about what you think her role will be on the team this season.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched her grow up. We watched her grow up in different ways as a player and a person, and you can probably bookmark it a little bit with COVID and all the social justice work she did kind of around the same time. And I think she was always, never somebody who's afraid to use her voice, but found her voice in a different way through that. And I just remember watching her on CNN and just like being amazed at how detailed and eloquently she was speaking on these difficult issues. And it was just hard not to be proud. You know what I mean? Like you just watch somebody like blossom into that, like a national voice on a subject. And, she does a lot for the community, both here and back home. In terms of her role or how she's developed as a player, I think she's become a better scoring threat over her career. This year, we got a lot of good players. And so I think always the thing for point guards is trying to figure out how aggressive am I versus how much do I set teammates up. And I think she usually tilts towards the setting teammates up. So just trying to help her find that balance consistently, because we do need her to make shots and make plays when they're there for her to make. And then, shouldn't talk about her without talking about her defense, because her role is every night she brings it defensively, and that's why she's first team all defense.
All right, thank you, Eric. And thank you, I'm sorry, Aaron. James, I believe you raised your hand again.
Yeah, coach. I guess one thing that I'm kind of curious about, just looking at the bigger picture here for this upcoming season. I mean, you see that there's been a lot of talk about super teams this offseason, and when people talk about them, they're usually talking about the Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty. But you all have this advantage of having some continuity on this roster, and you've all talked about how Elena Deladon is back to full strength. I mean, when you see people sometimes leaving you out of the conversation, I mean, is that bulletin board material, or is that something that you guys kind of just not focus on as you prepare for this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think for our players it definitely is, but honestly, like, I've been asked about it kind of since media day in some form or another by the media for a couple of weeks now, and everybody keeps telling us we're the dark horse candidate. I'm like, well, we're not really that dark horse anymore if everybody keeps picking us or to be good. So I don't, honestly, personally, I don't care that much. I don't really worry about it. My job is to worry about our team and get us as good as we can be. You don't know what's going to happen over the course of the season with health and matchups, and we're going to have to, if everybody's order that they're predicting is about the same, we're going to have to go through somebody else in a first round series. So I don't know that we can spend a lot of time. We play New York Friday, obviously, and we're going to play them a few times and play Vegas a few times, but there's a lot of good teams in this league. We go New York, Connecticut, Chicago to start, and that's a tough run. And no matter what happens Friday night, we're gonna have to turn around and get ready for the next one in about 36 hours later. So we can't spend a lot of time worrying about other teams.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, James. Thanks, James. Thanks, Eric. We're going to turn to Brian. Brian, go ahead.
Mute. That's a fine.
Brian, I think you're muted.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Brian Florenton from Nets Daily and the localw.com. Last year, Shakira Austin had a really fantastic rookie season. What are you most looking forward to watching in her game in her second season?
I think she's just coming in, with her feet a little bit more established in the league. Anybody that followed her season in Israel saw her, take a major jump as an offensive player, and I think we're going to see some of that here. I think she's got a good ability, despite growing her game and being more aggressive. I think she's got a good ability to read her teammates and play off of them. She's got, it's even playing with Elena, you have to do certain things to maximize her game. And I think Kira's got a good natural feel for those things. And then defensively, she's a talker, she's active, she's mobile, she blocks shots, she can get her feet out on the perimeter. So I think we see her developing as a real two-way player at an elite level. Hopefully, we're not putting any timetable or any box around her. She can be as good as she wants, as soon as she wants. So we're excited to see that.
And last year, you guys were Elena had a really fantastic season in her first full season back, and you guys were able to sort of like nurse her through the season 100%. What's the sort of expectation you guys have for her this season with more games on the schedule to work with?
Yeah, the short answer is we're not sitting down and planning any games for her not to play. We did that last year, and we kind of had it mapped out, maybe not down to the specific game, but kind of the volume of games that we wanted, or she wanted to play or was able to play. And we're not going in with any restrictions in that regard now. It's my job and our medical staff's job to be smart when we've got heavy loads of games, whether it's playing games, not playing games, or just minutes, practice time, all that stuff factors in. So we're just going to be smart as we go, but there's no big plan in terms of resting her.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Brian, we're going to turn to Aaron. Aaron, you're going to be followed by Jackie.
Eric, when you talked about Natasha, you talked a little bit about her blossoming as a person and seeing that sort of evolution. I'm curious if you noticed a correlation between when she started to speak out about social justice issues? Was there a correlation in her, I guess, communication as a leader on the court as a point guard, or was that something she already had, or what?
Possibly, but I don't want to overstate it because I think she always had that to a degree. It's one of the things we liked about her when we were drafting her. We remember going to watch her in a shoot around in college, and she was talking her teammates through the game plan, and I'm going to play it like this, and when we switch, I'm going to do that. I mean, she was trying to guard Jonquil Jones on a switch back in like 2015. So she always had it. I think she's learned over the years how to be more, pointed with it, to be more efficient with her voice. We talk about like get to it, get out, and we got to go. And she's gotten better and better at that. But I think that maybe it's the other way around. She just got to a certain point in her career and she had been a vocal player, and now is like, I can use this voice in different ways.
Okay.
Oh, my next. Yeah, hello, Eric, once again. So I know there's a lot of talk about New York, obviously, but a weakness is their lack of chemistry and continuity, which is your team's strength. I'm just curious, since you've been in the thick of this and you've seen how the chemistry is built over the years, how long does it take to build the type of chemistry that leads to a lot of winning?
Every team's different, I think. I think it's being a little bit overblown with New York in terms of their chemistry, because a lot of those guys have played together in Russia and for Sandy, and they have smart basketball players. And I think smart players figure things out pretty quickly. And, when Minnesota went on their run of championships, I think it was the second year after they got Lindsay Whalen, and the first year they had Maya Moore, and it didn't take them a long time to be really good. And so I don't know. I think it's a mixed bag. Our group that ended up winning here, it took us a couple years, but we also didn't have some pieces here right away. Like Emma wasn't here in 2017. Excuse me. Emma was here in 20. I forget the years of who was here which year and not the other years. But it took us some time to get kind of everybody in the boat and on the same team on the same court at the same time. But we learned every year and we developed as each year went along. So I don't know. They might gel year one and be really, really good, or it might take them a little time. It's again, their problem.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Is that an Annie Myers I see? Or not see, but I see a hand.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, Annie.
Good to see you. I
Great
see
to
you. Can you talk a little bit about the new players and just, it's really kind of a new roster. You've got Angsler on the team. You brought Zowie B in, you've got Sykes, and you brought Tolliver in. Just, some good veteran players, but just kind of the mix of the new players that have come in.
Yeah, our big free agent acquisition, Brittany Sykes, is, you can already see in practice the dynamic that she brings. A little bit of what we haven't had is just that rim attacking threat. We get a little bit of that from Tosh and Shakira Austin in a different way, but just somebody in the open court that can just go by people and get to the rim. And that's, when we looked at our team, we said we needed some playmaking, and she brings that. She's played more point guard over the years, so she gives us a little insurance in that area as well. And then an elite defensive player to go with Natasha and Ariel and Shatori Walker-Kimbrough on the perimeter. And the other one, Zowie just, I think it's the right time in her career and for our team. Like it just seems like a very good fit for what she's looking for and what we are looking for, being able to protect the rim and space the floor and set great screens. And I think she's very appreciative of the opportunity, and we're glad to have her. Bringing Christy back, again, timing just kind of felt right. She went on a little hiatus to LA, and now we get her back. And I'm losing track. Angsler, she's had a good camp. Lee Mung is new. And she's settling in well. There's obviously language barrier and stuff, but she's done a great job with it. She understands more English than you would expect. And it's fun. No matter, even though we've got continuity, you need some freshness every year.
All right. Thanks, Annie. We're going to turn to Brendan. Brendan, you're going to be followed by Doug.
Hey, Eric, thanks for the time. I know this was kind of brought up off the top on the call about, taking over for your dad, but more so curious, what steps are you taking from your standpoint to try and put your own twist, your own mark on the franchise in terms of being your own voice? I'm curious as to how that might differ from what you learned under your dad and how you're trying to kind of set a tone that I'm Eric Thibault. I'm not just Mike's son.
I don't quite look at it that way.
Okay.
I don't think I have to set a tone of how I'm different or this is my team now. I think I need to do, things the way that make sense to me and that feel natural to me. And and mostly do what I think the group needs. And, we're going to tweak some things basketball wise, but we do that every year. Every year we come back and we look at how can we make a few areas better. So I don't know, I'm in a little different position. Like I don't have 50 years of head coaching experience or whatever that number is. And I'm going to, I think I can't be afraid to try some things and make some mistakes. And so I can't do it the way anybody else does it, or I've seen somebody do it. I got to do what feels natural to me and trust my gut on some things. And luckily I've got great continuity with our staff that's been here that, I feel a lot of trust in them and from them. And it's a group that's been here. So I don't know. Usually when you take over something like this, it's a rebuilding job. And, I'm not trying to throw everything out the window year one. Just, we got a team was a good team last year and just needs a couple improvements and we'll have a chance to compete.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brendan. We're going to turn to Doug. Doug, go ahead.
Eric, I'm curious how you get ready for Friday's game, since New York is obviously vastly different than last year and their new players haven't played all that much yet in the preseason. So I don't know if even film's helpful. Like, how do you get ready for a team that is vastly different than the one you played last year a few times?
Yeah, it's like a mashup of their team last year and Seattle and a little Connecticut and little Chicago and some of Sandy's Phoenix stuff still. Sandy has run some stuff pretty consistently from place to place overseas, Phoenix, New York. So, but they're going to do some new things. They got new players. We're not going to know everything. That's why we spent a lot of time, through camp, not just game planning for New York, but being good in what our principles and our rules are defensively. Because, we also can't game plan exclusively for one game and then we don't play them again for a month or whatever it is. So some things we'll prep. It'll be our best guess basically, and then we'll have to roll with a couple things on the fly.
Thanks.
Stewie's going to be good. I can tell you that. Brianna Stewart is fresh in our minds from the end of last season.
All right, thanks, Doug. Thanks, Eric. We got time for one more question. We're going to close out with Aaron Carter. Aaron, you're up.
Thanks. I want to move away from Natasha a little bit and just talk about trash talk in general. So much was made about that during the women's Final Four. And I'm just curious, Eric, if you feel, does it have a place in the game? Does it happen in your game? Is it frowned upon, or does it give a competitive advantage? What are your thoughts on just talking trash in general?
I was a little bit of a talker myself, so I can't look down on it too much. No, I think it's good. It's fun. I think, I don't know where you draw the line between trash talk and just like kind of disrespectful taunting. I don't know where that is. The referees do their best. I think everybody wishes that some of it would be allowed a little bit more for players to have an emotional reaction and then move on. But I think it's fun. Fans seem to like it. We've definitely been on the receiving end and the initiating end. So I don't know. It's definitely a part of the game.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Eric, as well. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Ron, you didn't let Nikias ask about how Liverpool is coming back to get top 4 spot from Man United. Next time, Nikias.
Go ahead. You're on. You're on. All right, Eric. Hey, thanks much. Good luck.